Hey everyone, Jim with Pash Fitness here. Um, I know I look pretty good right now. I'm actually on my way out the door with my wife. We're going to go to an 80s theme night party. But before I do that, I have this assignment I got to get done, and it's about the next series in the blog. Uh, and this is going to be dealing with teenagers, right? So you got kids, you go through the process of the youth, the toddlers, the infants, and all that. And then you get to teenagers, the dreaded teenagers. So, what do we do with that? Well, let's hope and pray that when they were little, we taught them all the right foundational things. What value and respect your elders. Listen carefully to them. Be the kind of person that we hope them to represent our family. So we do all that, and then we get to the teenagers, and guess what? They go from completely dependent on us to gradually less dependent and wanting more independence, which is totally normal. So there's nothing weird about that. So how do we get through these moments as parents? It can be a little bit of a shock the first time your child goes, why? Or no, I don't think I want to do that. Or tell me why Johnny's parents let me do that or let him do that, but not me. Why don't you let me do that? So the basic tips I would say is it's all about what you do for yourself. Number one is you want to be patient. Let them ask those questions. It's totally normal. If you can have a back and forth communication about it, and they can explain to you why it's so important to them to do this thing that they're asking you to do. Maybe you even consider compromising with your child at times. I'm not saying that there's times when you just say, hey, you're just not going to do it because we don't do that in our family. That's okay. But if you have a balance between the times when you are that firm and the other times when you're a little bit more open, your child, even if they don't say so at the time when they're like, well, I hate you. I can't believe you do that. And why you're not like the other parents. If you balance it, I think that they'll be totally fine with it at the end of their teenagers, which can be very roller coaster, right? Roller coaster. Like you're like, who is this child? Is that the same kid that I had 12 years ago? But it's all okay. So besides being patient, make sure you listen to them. Make sure you are consistent in your message. And if you do have a significant other, that you guys share the same philosophy and you express it the same to your child. So there isn't this like, oh, well, mom said I could. And you're like, well, wait a second. And then there's an argument between the two of you, and then they play you off each other. That's the worst. Make sure if you do have consequences, you follow through with them when they cross the line, because they're gonna try. If you remember, actually, when you were a teenager, and I know when I was a teenager, I was not the best child all the time. I definitely pushed buttons and tested my mother and her her rules, and occasionally I had to pay the price, and I resented it at the time, but looking back, I'm glad she was there. I always knew she loved me, and that even when I screwed up, I had a place to go. It was always a safe place to go. And then I guess I just go back to what I started with. Just trust that you laid the right foundation, and be willing to give up some of that control and let your child go out there. And sometimes you just have to make mistakes. You have to be willing to let them go. They have to be able to make a mistake, because that's what we learn from. And that's what I try and teach my students, and that's what I try to express to my kids. It's okay if you make a mistake, but it's whether or not you learn from it so that you don't make it again and you get stronger from it. So again, I'm on my way out to an 80s party with my wife, and we're going to go have a good time. So I hope everyone has a great weekend. And I hope this was informative for you, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care.